Hello, everybody. Welcome to BI4Dynamics webinar. I'm Tjasa, Operational Manager. Here at BI4Dynamics, we are totally focused on deliver data warehouse automation for Microsoft Dynamics. We support all versions from NAV, AX to the 365, Business Central, Finance and Operation, or on cloud or on-premise. We have you covered. In the last 10 years, we completed more than 1,000 BI projects around the globe, from mid-sized companies to international corporations, having 40 companies within 10 databases and even more. We have strong focus on retailer, especially in the Middle East and in Asia, Singapore. We are now doing, let's say, around 3 to 5 installations weekly. Currently, Middle East branch of Scandinavian furniture retailer are keeping us busy. We just finished 2 worldwide manufacturers of health equipment, 1 jewelry from the United States, and also a relatively small company in Germany. As you see on our reference list, we support all sites and all industries. So today we are here to explain you more how to get, let's say, all-inclusive data, all-inclusive information out of your BC Cloud without sacrificing any performance or content. We will record the session, so you can expect the recording within next days. If any of you will have any questions, please fill it in the chat box below. Mladen, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Tjasa. So, yeah. Okay, so agenda for today is all about getting data and transferring data from Business Central to Excel or Power BI user interface that is going to be used for querying this data. Now, it is quite complicated to get data out of the BC in a way that everyone is happy. So here we will do a comparison on-premise versus cloud. And in terms of data transformation, what we can do if we are using a Power BI as a modeling tool versus data warehouse or SQL as a modeling tool. Now it is understood that Power BI has modeling tool and visual capabilities. And in these terms, we are comparing modeling capabilities. Now, we are also looking into key features of BI4Dynamics BC Cloud, data transformation, installation of necessary infrastructure, resources, application, customization, and reports. Before we continue, I would like to launch polls so that we just know whether you are business profile or an IT. So just please, can you launch the polls and just click what best presents your profile so that we have idea what the blend of today's webinar will be. We wait 5 more seconds. I think majority already voted and the results are not surprising, but we have like 75% of you are IT professional, and there is equally a leftover for business users and those who are presenting business and IT. So thank you for contributing in this input, and let's continue with our architecture. Live on-premise is simple. It is Business Central data or NAV data are simply available, and any tool can access this data, load do data transformation, in our case, in data warehouse, and present it to the users. And there are no obstacle of what you do, because the tables, 1,500 BC tables are available. Now, life in cloud tend to be a little more complicated because Microsoft is not allowing direct access to the tables that are in Business Central, and there are ways to get it, and these are not the best when we are loading large set of data. If it's not just writing an item or sales order from web shop, data warehousing or any data transformation requires large chunk of data. Here we can have we can create inside of Business Central a query and expose it as a web service that is going to be consumed in the next step. So what most of the customers and partners are doing is using Power BI after we have created 5 or 10 or 50 queries, and we get the data from BC in OData protocol, so connection is live, and we create a model within the Power BI. So these queries tend to be like in SQL terms views, where we can combine one or more tables, put on some aggregations, and get the data out. Now, BI4Dynamics is a little different approach, because this connection, whatever we do or whoever connects, it's slow. How slow? Usually when we are in on-premise, we can get at least 1 GB per minute. So this is something that we start with. It can be way faster with more parallelism. Here, this speed is quite slow, and it is like approximately, let's say, 50 times slower. So we can get 20, 30, 40 megabyte per minute, depending on the data size, table size, and so on. So it's kind of complicated, and for the small data sets, this might not be a problem, but as soon as there are a few 100,000 rows, this is already a problem. Now, so what we do in BI4Dynamics, instead of going here, because then here, it takes time to refresh the data and you don't want to wait along, or if you say, okay, I will just create a query where I will put some aggregations, and then a part of this calculation will be done within the Power BC, and the presentation will be done in Power BI. However, in this case, I sacrifice a lot of details that might be needed for in here. And each time I want to do more of this data browsing, more I have to do is about, I come back in the Business Central, do something in the model and have it like here. It's kind of also service intensive. Now, our solution does transformation by exporting data to the blob storage as a separate detached process from the data warehousing, which consumes this data on a very fast manner, because connection here is super fast. It's like this one here, and we create the data warehouse and analysis services model, which can be then consumed with Excel, Power BI, or any other BI tool. Now, let's see first what are the implementation options or comparison Power BI versus data warehouse. So how can we load the data from the BC? What kind of data transformation there is? Shall we go for aggregation or keep the document level details? And this will all affect data size, granularity, and our decisions about the cost. What is about the content? How much you get out of the content from you? If you are the partner or customer, depends on you. So here we can just show what is out of the box content that we provide. Also, time to delivery project and cost related to this, especially again, it's about cost if you have to spend a lot of customizations. And what is the user experience? What is the query latency, refresh time when you are refreshing your Excel or Power BI? Can you handle permission or not? Kind of, this will be a tricky question. I will show you what the problem is, and also again, the cost of handling and managing the whole system. This is what we are going to look into. Now, let's start with the Power BI. And I have here 3 queries. And these queries are customer ledger entry, the first one, which is created by Microsoft. The query is there, which is exposed as a web service, and we consume these 400,000 rows and it takes 1.5 minutes to load the data. The data set is very small because we have only 7 columns. Now, in the second query, we have GL entries from Business Central. In this case, we are using same OData protocol, but just as an example, when we have 50 columns and 2.5 million rows, which for data warehousing it's not really something, but it takes 44 minutes because the data size is 3 GB, so kind of way bigger. Now, another example, so I'm showing you using different technology. There is nothing BI4Dynamics or Power BI specific. This is just technology as it is, just to have the idea about the loading time and the data size. If we connect with Power BI to the blob storage, so this is an example of BI4Dynamics blob storage, where we again have 50 columns from GL entry. However, the data size is a little smaller because the data in BI4Dynamics are per company, so kind of, let's say, maybe a few percent less, but it's not really important much. The data size is way smaller that you read, that Power BI has to read, and loading data takes 5 minutes. So see, these are quite big differences. So the right approach is needed, whatever technology you use. And here it is, what we can make as a conclusion. The data size in terms of rows is definitely important, but way more important is the data size in terms of kilobytes, megabytes, or gigabytes, which means how many columns we take for our data transformation journey, which in the design of the Power BI, if you want to be economical or anyone, we would say use minimum columns in order to have a faster processing. However, if we take minimum column, then each time that we will add more columns, we have a question: is our tool good that we can easily add this? In BI4Dynamics, this is done automatically, or there is a user interface which has to check and add a column in query and then add it also in the Power BI. So this is all doable in case of the manual work. There are services or time consumption related. If you have a tool that does it for you, then this is better. But same, we all live in this limitation of the data size and how fast we can get the data out. You can see here that the same data, if we get from blob storage, is already, let's say, 8 times faster. So this kind of at least encouraging. I wouldn't say good, but at least somehow encouraging. So what are you going to do in order to have not 400,000 rows, but you would like to have it faster? Then you put in Power BI aggregation. So you calculate not on a document level, but item, customer, location, daily level. And then you need the global dimensions, and then you need a reason code or return code. So kind of things you can see whether you can do the compromise of granularity or not, services spent or not, performance spent on a user querying or not. So when you are using in Power BI, there is a lot of compromising, while in BI4Dynamics, because again, getting data from the Business Central and creating data warehouse and browsing is a detached process. So there are two different processes. Let me show you one example of usage. If I don't sacrifice the data, what kind of functionality we can get. So in this case, I will show you the inventory, where inventory as inventory, we have balance, variance, turnover in days. What is interesting is inventory aging, which is same stock value, browsed by different aging groups. Under 100 days, item not moving 100 days, or a year, or more than a year. If you look into the details, when we show this, then everyone would like to have this functionality because it looks that everything is good and nice because the stock value is going down and turnover is going from 160 to 40 days. However, we can see that aging items more than a year, the share is bigger and bigger. And definitely, it means that we'll hit a write-off or we will sell with loss. And this is the information that we have based on this data since beginning of your usage of NAV. Why? Because in this case, we use item application entry. table 339, which has all the information how item application have been going on, including value entry for the values and item ledger entry for the quantities, because we provide all this information. So you would not be able to have this unless you go to the document level or transaction level. And further, if you look into this aging for one item, 100 days, and these are three main buckets, we can see the quantities. This is implementation showcase. We have different values of this aging, and we can see that the value of these 11 pieces is 1,399, which is quite expensive looking into the latest purchase price, which is going to be, again, against the transaction, average purchase price in the period. And then I bring in also sales information in the same view, quantity, sales price, and also last purchase date. What was the previous purchase date? Was it one-time shot, and so on. So if you now see what kind of richness BI4Dynamics offered, this would not be possible if you would not go to transaction level. No way. So there's a question, what is the architecture behind? Let's look at another scenario where the things kind of look okay also from a Power BI perspective, and these are account schedules. I presume that you are familiar with financial reporting, and account schedule are a really great functionality where you can create your own financial reports with the combination of GL accounts and some formulas. So in here, there is a one mini trial account schedule that is the default account schedule. Also the query that is exposed to the web service is available to everyone. So the data are, there are fast because the aggregation is done, or calculations of these KPIs are done already within the BC. So when we are loading only aggregated data. So 300 rows, it's really a small number of rows that we do. So this looks kind of okay, and there are few measures also related to time intelligence that we can have. This is all coming standard out of the box. So this kind of looks promising. Again, however, if you look at what we can provide, or what we can provide is way better. So BI4Dynamics also provide this functionality. It is just on another level of functionality, let's say it differently. So this is our model. Now I'm connecting to Excel, and Excel is connecting to analysis services, and we are going to bring into the rows account schedule. There are several account schedules that we may have. So the definition comes directly from NAV. Let's just bring this into the view, and we will see what else can we do just if we have more information. So we are going into the GL transaction part here so that we can create the report, and we are going to take a need change to bring into the picture. We are going to bring in only the closed period items. It will not be a lot of design, just something that we need to do here. And this is our model, which we're of course flexible to browse with any of the dimensions that are available. Now, what is here specific is, apart from the time intelligence, which is already there, and for one, let's say, measure like need change, we provide, you would not believe, 50 variances in time intelligence, which means different comparisons. And this would not work if we don't select date first. So let's put a date first, or let me just show you that this is moving fast. If we have the data, let's just drop first for a second the functionality. You will understand after I just show the whole things within here. So here we have, this is granularity on a daily level. What we will do is we will keep only this as a year to show you this time intelligence that is already there. So let me just filter 2020 and going into the filter area. Now we can bring this comparison. So I'll just bring need change last. This is 2019 as it is, variance percentage. So all the time intelligence, year on year, month to date, year, quarter on quarter, or rolling, or last periods, all these comparisons are already available at any part. Not just that, if we want to see some numbers here, let me just go back, and what will bring in the generic date here, not the relative, but this one, month, into the column area. Now we may spot, I'm looking into the discounts here, which would also be possible to look into the compact form, but we are looking into this tabular form where I can look into the discounts and see that there is a discount bigger. Why is this so important? Because at any level I can go to the next level. This is something I can't do in count schedules if I'm reading these directly. So the definition that has been used as a formula of interval is now available here. So you can see here, these are the GL accounts which are contributing to the row definition. Okay, and further, if we just go for sales discount, so let's just filter out sales discount, and also the name is sales discount, so we don't have a lot of accounts here. What we want to show is the options of getting further to a document level. So let's bring in first the posted year month, and then we'll bring in the document type, and then we'll bring in the document number, and we can bring in also customer or vendor, depending which part of application this is coming from. So you can see here, the granularity is there, and you don't have to sacrifice anything in BI4Dynamics. Further, going to the document level, we can also bring all this kind of time intelligence. We can compare the data against the budgets, that is clear. We can use up to 20 global financial dimensions, 20, without being asked which one. I mean, that 20 should be enough. It's already in a design of application, so you don't have to worry that adding one or two more will cost you more, because it's already in the design, and the code is generating only that many global dimension scripts as are needed. So the performance will not be affecting if you take all the 20 global dimensions with you. You can see here, this is a global dimension which is actually showing the hierarchy. Okay, sometimes can be nice, or if you want to bring in, for example, global dimension into another view, it just depends how much you want to do. And last and not least, you can use the formatting in Excel, and this will be always kept regardless on the data change, as long as you, after formatting, save this. Similar visuals, same thing can be achieved with Power BI. Ad hoc reporting, Excel is better. Dashboarding, Power BI is better. So if you don't have that many details as we provide, then Excel may not be the first choice or equal BI tool, but what we believe these both tools are to be used for different purposes, especially with this approach, having this granularity data available across, it is understood across all application area. Now, if we go on with our part, so let's continue with this Power BI. What have we found? So in terms of BI4Dynamics, we don't have to compromise content over services. Oh, I forgot actually to show you what is our standard and out-of-the-box content. That is something I was showing you. First, I was showing you the inventory aging, because where we take the ledger transactions of all the inventory transactions, then we were showing the functionality of document granularity that is used in the account schedules. Now, this is something that comes out of the box for all application area, where we have 1,500 measures. So this is a sales overview with sales, inventory, and receivables data. And if you would like to find out more, and you can also ask us for Power BI reports if you are our partner. If you are our customer, if new, we can have a talk about the content. And the content is really everywhere and in detail. So you have a customer, not just profit and so on, days since last, sales, delivery late, amount late, or in receivables, the turnover in days is calculated as average receivable versus sales on credit. And the payment terms and all these measures are weighted measures. So it's kind of a lot of small details that are already embedded in our data warehouse, because we don't have to compromise content over lack of information that we would have to omit because we don't go to the document or transaction level. All this information are available for us, so the compromise is not needed, and the content that we provide from the BC Cloud is the same as if we get the content from on-premise. So that is very encouraging. Now I can talk that the compromise in BI4Dynamics doesn't have to happen, and the services that you would usually have to deliver yourself or pay your partner, it's not a question, because this is a solution that creates all the scripts, all the steps automatically, and the delivery is predictable, which means on day one you can also try it as a proof of concept. Ready to crunch any data of any size. Now here, not really any data, because if we would have 500 GB or 5 terabyte, which is okay for on-premise implementation, then this would be very challenging. I wouldn't say that we would sign off such projects and say, okay, we will deliver to you, but the databases are not that big. So in the Dynamics F&O, these databases are okay. They are bigger, definitely, but the things work differently. They already have this export to the data lake. What we'll find out also in our architecture, how to save money or Azure subscription, because we have explained that virtual machine will be used in order to create a data warehouse, and you can be kind of scared of the cost related to Azure to have this flexibility and so on. We'll look into this, and we have seen that querying is not a question how fast this is, because it's data are in memory in analysis services, and Excel and Power BI users are really very happy when querying because they get instant results. Apart from that, we have also seen that we can have up to 20 global dimensions. And what is important, since I have shown you, especially for the finance, we can set permissions at any level, and these permissions can be done on any table. And in March, we are going to release a module where the permissions are going to be set in the BC, and then we are going to bring this to analysis services automatically, which means you will be able to say, okay, John, you have only access to this department data, or you can have access to sales data, sales application area or so. So this helps a lot. It covers also financial part and account schedules, which in current configuration of the Business Central is what we believe not possible. We have seen this, what you get, customizations, and let's see how actually this is done in order to cover this data transformation. So I'm speaking about, yes, we have a business cloud here. So what are the parts that BI4Dynamics does here? So let's see how to create a virtual machine and where it is this data lake, just to have the idea how things look. Because what we found out in lately is that customers and partners do not have a lot of experience with Azure. Even if you are using the BC Cloud, you are using it as a service. So you don't go into Azure portal and set up a lot of things around that, because you get this already as a consumed service from Microsoft. When we are creating some resources related to Azure, then we have to know a little understanding how things are. And we are going to see this part in action and what are the handicaps or what you have to be careful, because everyone is asking us, okay, Azure flexibility, no hardware, great. What about the cost? Cost is like, question all the time. We'll look into that. So let's create a virtual machine. We will not be spending a lot of time. We'll just create one virtual machine just to have the idea and just to drop a little fear about this. So we're going to, not on the virtual machine, which you would intuitively think that you are going to do. No, we are going to create Azure SQL. And here we are going to use, let's say, this subscription and create a new Azure subscription on a virtual machine here. So not a managed instance or a database, but SQL virtual machine. This will be a 1 or 2 minute presentation where we will choose already pre-installed SQL server, not an enterprise standard one. And we are going to create one so that you have all the feeling about this. Which subscription we are going to use. Virtual machine group, resource group is a bundle of resources that we are going to control. Virtual machine name VM demo. It doesn't really matter because we'll not use it. Region must be where our BC is. It is a standard one. Now the size is important, and let's use 4 CPU and 16 gig of memory. It says 280 per month, but we are going to use approximately probably 1 hour per day. So the cost would be probably for this about 60 euro, maybe something like that. And we already have from the previous set the name. And let me just create admin user and so on. So this would be the key page. Then the disk for the operating system we don't do. Networking is not important. Management is not that important. Let's say what I just want to highlight a hidden issue here. Let's expose this as a private public internet. But what is here important is, you see how a small print is shown here, and it's kind of important because automatically, regardless that we forecast that usage of our virtual machine will be 50 to 60 euro. If we would continue to next to the text, then Microsoft would automatically assign 2 premium 1 tera disk to this project, which is going to cost you 125 euro each. Kind of overkill for a small database. So this kind of things we want to warn you. So one would be for data, one for log. First, we would say, no, we don't need this. We're just going to use the same disk. And we are not going to use 1 tera because let's say you have a 5 gig database. So if you say, okay, you will take 125 or 28, not because you need that space, but because this is also related to the speed. You see, maximum speed of this, how many IOPS you can do. And this is in the range of, I think, 30 euro per month. So this kind of not a problem. If you go here, it's like, it's quite low. It's not a lot. However, you should know that this size affects also the performance. So this is what we wanted to expose. And then if I would review and create, within a few minutes, we would create a virtual machine. The virtual machine would be created. And when we have installed virtual machine, now I'm ready, in our demo virtual machine that we are using for testing, then you would create BI4Dynamics application data warehouse, not 9 as we are doing at testing, and analysis services, which is going to be accessed. So just this is what you see here. It's a C drive, temporary drive, and data drive. So to have the idea, these kind of things are not difficult, but you can do something that can cost you. So for that reason, let me just run this. It takes 3 to 4 to 5 minutes or even 10 minutes, depending on the day. So all kind of this information are available for you to study in our documentation here. So if I would just show the virtual machine installation that we have done here, this is covered here. It takes about 1 hour to set up, not just to create, and also the setup virtual machine here. So this is one part of documentation. And another very important part is this data transformation document here. So it just says, okay, what are the different parts that we are using in how do we get data from BC? We're using Dockers here, and it's explaining. And let us just stop here for a while. What are implementation options? Okay, so this is related to the cost. So before we go here, I'll just go a little here. Now, what we have implementation option are the following. We can create data warehouse on a virtual machine or on a local machine, which means you can use your own Navision server, which has some capability of running SQL also for BI4Dynamics project without any problem, or the virtual machine like we just created in a few minutes back. Then we have two options of where we are going to use analysis services. We can use it on the same server, local machine or virtual machine, or we put analysis services on analysis services Azure. Why do we want to put it on another service? Because you can say you can use this one. It's a simple reason for that. Virtual machine in this case has to be available while data are being processed and while users are using analysis services, because you cannot switch off virtual machine or local machine if users are using the database and analysis services are running. This is what you need. So in a hybrid option, this is what we call a mix or a hybrid option. SQL on local or virtual machine is used only when you are using it for data warehousing. So let's say 1 hour a day, depending how fast this is, but usually the data sizes are fast, so can be even 15 minutes. It's common. And then let's say the 10 hour per day on a working day, users are browsing, because this is how much you are going to pay for analysis services in the cloud. So further on, this is just the scenario of the cost, including everything. So let's presume that you are a small customer and you need only 3 application areas. Any of these 3, sales, purchase, inventory, finance, receivables, or payables. And this would cost you, from BI4Dynamics license perspective, only 125 euro or $150 if you are in out of Europe. And if you need 6 application areas, then the cost is 250 euro per month. And it's number of users included, which we believe in most cases it is fine. Then we have also enterprise, but let's keep it out of the picture for now. And if we join the suggested Azure services into the picture and say, okay, since you are a small customer, probably your data size of BC is smaller than 5 GB. So you would need a data warehouse hosted on this Azure instance and analytics on this analysis instance. So the cost of Azure would be, in a hybrid option, only 54 euro. So kind of total is 179. If we are running the virtual machine all the time, like 10 hours, which is not recommended, and actually you see this calculation here is for 30 days, which means we could shrink another 5 euro down if we have a hybrid, then the cost would be for the total service 238. But this one is better, okay? If your database is bigger, so this is just an example. It is not that you have to fit into this range. This is just an example. Then you would need that, and let's presume the database is up to 50 GB, 20 GB, and you will use a stronger virtual machine to crunch the data with an hourly rate for an hour, euro per hour, and you would need a stronger instance in analytics. So this analytics is where it is costing you. Storage and Dockers, 20 euro, maybe 30 euro. Not really a material important. So then the cost of Azure services would be 150 on the top of 250 for BI4Dynamics license. And this is the comparison of this if you go on the virtual machine. Now it is clear that if you have already the virtual machine, local machine, then I wouldn't say that these costs are zero, because probably there are some costs, but maybe these costs occurred in the past. So you just pay for the license of BI4Dynamics, and on premises, that's it. This can be 125 or 250 euro per month, which is for the content that we provide for 1,200 KPIs. If I exclude the retail, really good deal. Now, we describe in this document, which is publicly available, also some more details, which we are not going to explain, but you can just go here and study. And if you are from worldwide non-European pricing area, then you can use the same document in US dollar. There is also documentation how to install BI4Dynamics, what are needed. What you will see in managing anything in Azure, if I go back, what is the biggest difference between these two? One is speed, okay, that's clear. But in on-premise world, especially in the past, we had kind of integration processes. Is analysis services working with .NET, with this server, with this SQL, and so on? This is pretty much gone lately. While in the cloud, this is gone completely. But the issues here that are needed to be addressed are security. It's a lot of permissions, because if these two are speaking, then this must allow this guy to take the data, and this can access this. It's kind of a lot of settings and a lot of security. Not a difficult one, but for first time or one time doing it, kind of consuming. It can be or frustrating because you just forgot to whitelist IP or allow or install a data gateway or something like this. But these are implementation issues that you learn over the time. Otherwise, this can be all created within 1-2 hours, and BI4Dynamics implementation 1-2 hours with Excel and Power BI reports. So that is super fast. So that is super fast. Yeah. So this is what we covered. So with the documentation and installation, and yeah, so definitely what I would suggest is the best option is hybrid, not only from the cost perspective, but also from access perspective. Because let's say if you have a virtual machine, you may put it to the VPN, or if you don't have it, then kind of users should access the RDP, which is not common. So this option is better because you are going to connect with your email, Azure Active Directory, and this is working perfectly. Now, why on earth would you create a data warehouse on premise and then choose, instead of the analysis services, which is already a part of SQL installation, one product, the one in the cloud? Who would do this? Well, actually, the reason is simple. Let's say that we integrate in a data warehouse components from different sources, and then we want that this is available to everyone in the world, not just those who are accessing our data in a central location. So we definitely have already the projects where this is working perfectly, integrating data from the cloud to on-premise, crunch the data with a good hardware here, and then push it to the cloud where everyone is accessing it from the cloud. Of course, it's a different whether you are accessing from Europe to North America or Asia and so on. There is some latency, but far less problems you have than any other setup for sure. Pricing we have covered, and yeah, so customers are asking about questions that we have addressed in this webinar, and whatever we say, we still learn something. But the best in every case is just to try, because you can install BI4Dynamics on Azure or local resources, connect Excel Power BI reports, and you can see how fast the data warehouse is processing or how fast the data are being loaded from the BC, what kind of insight you get, and then you have the idea, hey, is this covering all my requests, or is it something that I still have to work? Customizations and so on are super simple to do, because when we are getting the data, we take first 160 tables, which are kind of hard-coded, and any additional database table that we want to do can be added also automatically. So you don't have to fear about that customizations will be expensive. And I would say the cost of Azure resources for a trial that would be taking 2 or 3 weeks would be around €100 on the top, something like that, depending how many hours you would like to browse this. This was most what I wanted to show in this presentation. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions, please?
Yes,
Tiasha, do we have?
Yeah, we have, Mladen. First question was already answered. So I've sent the USD dollar pricing for with the data transformation. The other question is, customer is asking, so they upgraded from NAV to BC Cloud, and they are now asking if there is a possibility to include both data sources into BI4Dynamics.
Yeah, we get these questions a lot. So let me tell you that if the data source is NAV, then in on-premise world, we can integrate version 5 to BC 17. I don't know which is the latest on-premise version. Now we are going to develop an interface which will allow in the same, which is not going to be very difficult, interface that's going to access data to Azure Data Lake, because here we are reading data through Polybase feature. So it's a blob storage, as CSV files, and a SQL database, which is going to be having the normal NAV tables. From a modeling perspective for data warehouse, this is the same. We will have to adjust and standardize the interface. So it will come as a part of the price list saying, I don't know, additional source, external source is going to cost you, I don't know how we have it on premise, but I think something between 40 and 17% of the current pricing. And we already now, as we have such projects with archive data and live data, are going to process live data only, and archive data once are going to be processed, they'll be just there, not putting a load or too much load into the whole processing part. But yes, this is going to be available, I think, in the summertime very soon. But here are some challenges, because you may have a lot of data here, and like you can have like 200 and 500 gigabyte of data, and you're starting here from fresh. Taking all the data with you maybe will create another data warehouse in the cloud, or just take some application area. This is all possible, and usual practice is that we take usually for analysis 3 years of data. So all kind of questions are going to be answered, and the part of functionality that we are going to deliver over the summer is going just to address this, because we see it in both Business Central getting data from NAV and financial operation getting data from AX. This is like, I can tell you, every day one question for sure in this related to this. I hope this was answering. Any more questions, Tiasha, please?
Yes, another one is how much would the solution cost if we would have bigger database? So I suppose how much would more cost the Azure subscription?
Well, the Azure subscription has two parts: loading data from Business Central. So that part depends on the maximum or the biggest table that you have, because that is most time consuming. We use parallelism, we can read it from replica, but still the largest table, one largest table. If you have several medium sized, it's better than to have one very large. It will take more time. We will be implementing incremental. So actually the delta that we are going to add every day is going to count more than the data size, but in the processing of data warehouse, both are important. Now, I will tell you the following. We process 90 GB data of F&O with the tier that costs $1.50 per hour in about 1.5 hours. So the cost might be higher. It's not going to cost you half a dollar or euro per hour, but $1.50 if you have the data close to 100 GB. And the cost that you are going to pay is actually not going to be so much related to data warehouse processing and this part, but the most of the cost occur in the analysis services, because this is going to be available more hours every day than data warehouse is running. So this virtual machine is going to be shut down, and the users here will require either 8 or 10 hours a day. But this is also good because you can scale the data size. Maybe you have 5 or 10 users for the beginning, then you can scale to 50 or more. So in that case, this will not be a problem. Instead of paying €1 or dollar per hour for, I don't know, B2 or B1 to go for something stronger. So the costs are going to be spread across different Azure services based on the structure, but really this part, number of users, I think is going to have the bigger impact than the other part. So, and the data size and compression, still, this is the bigger part. And as soon as you can do, test it. This is what we always say. We have been told also, when you are looking into how others are doing, you can try and test it, and you can see, and you can also forecast how the data are going to work. Now, whenever we are doing the scoping of our customer projects, we take into consideration 2 years growth of data. And we can say, okay, the cost of your Azure resources are going to be 100 or 100 euro per month. And then in a 2-year time, we expect this will grow to 150 per month, or 200, depending on what scope of data are going to be added every year. So that would answer the question. Any other question, please?
At this point, no. So I would like to thank you for a great presentation. If any of you will have questions after the meeting, please send it to tiki@bi4dynamics.com, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all for attending, and looking forward to be in communication with you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.